Hey Harmonizers, welcome to this video with Cadbury, where this is a pretty exciting session. This is on the last day that I had in Virginia with my friends Jen and Joe. And Joe is doing a session getting ready to do Cadbury's first ride, or his first real ride, where he's in a saddle and steering him with the rope and the halter, before he's done some jumping on his back and sitting on him that way, but not actually like fully riding him with the saddle and everything. So we're going to show you a few of the things that he does to help make sure that Cadbury's really ready, because it is definitely something where you need to be able to trust the horse. You need to be safe, because definitely accidents can happen. There are a whole ton of videos that I'm sure you can find if you go looking at reels or even searching on YouTube of horse riding fails. And the more we can do to help set a horse up to be calm, confident, and not react for the rider, the better. And so this is one of the things we're doing with Cadbury here. Is it's a pool noodle on top of the saddle, secured up there. And the reason for the pool noodle is to try to mimic something bouncing up and down on your back. So it's that idea of that visual where you can see something behind you, like meaning Cadbury sees something behind him that's kind of up high and that bounces and moves. What an awesome idea. This was something that Jen, Joe's wife, was mentioning that they do with the horses sometimes. And what a clever idea, because it's light, it's flexible, it's in no way going to hurt the horse. And it helps to take away one of those pieces that can sometimes upset horses, is to see like, oh wow, person up high. Of course, there were the other options that we already did with ponying Cadbury, meaning that Joe was riding the other horse while taking Cadbury around. So that helped for him to see somebody up high as well. And so here, now that he's got the little pool noodle on, Joe is sending him around on the circle, and then he's also got a rope attached to the stirrup, and he's picking up the stirrup and then letting it flop. And yes, sometimes he's like really flinging that stirrup around, but the idea is to double check, like, are you safe to ride? Is this going to go well? What are you going to do if I accidentally bump you too hard with that stirrup? Are you going to be okay? Are you going to go off on a full bronking, bucking rodeo because you're super overwhelmed? Or are you able to cope when something is stressful? So the idea is that like, we try our best to stay calm and polite and being really soft and gentle most of the time, and trying to prepare the horse mentally as best we can. And then sometimes we purposefully are a little bit bigger in our cues or bigger in our movements, so that way we can kind of have that same energy of, oh, whoa, like, I'm not trying to hurt you. Like, sometimes these things just move a lot. And then that way it's not going to be one of those scenarios where, oh my gosh, I was sitting on the horse for the first time and then a leaf fall off of a tree and hit your belly that you weren't expecting, and you completely exploded because we were so focused on keeping everything super careful and not giving you too much stimulus and things like that. So we purposely move around a little bit more. So it's not the prettiest of training, but that's the reasoning behind it. And of course, you can see that Cadbury was able to stay in control of his emotions. He didn't have any big, massive, overwhelming pieces where he exploded. He got faster sometime, which is a totally fair reaction. And of course, Joe didn't punish him in any ways, like didn't bump him on the lead rope or anything to say, no, that's a wrong response. But it's a good opportunity to see, okay, compared to where this horse started, if you go back to our beginning videos of how he did with the saddle, and he would have those full-on panics, buck bronking, just really upset and got very overwhelmed. That's not really a horse that you want to ride. You want to make sure that the horse has developed a lot more emotional control and regulation. So here, the next piece, I came over to help put on these little stuffed toys on his side. And so I just sped up the footage so that way you didn't spend a ton of time watching me put stuffed toys on Cadbury. But I wanted to show you right from the get-go that there were no big overwhelming reactions from Cadbury. The stuffed toys got secured to his stirrups because we felt he was ready, because Joe had done things to prepare him, including really moving the stirrup that I had showed you already, that he was really flapping the stirrup at his sides and no worries there. And now Joe's sending him from one direction to the other and asking him to canter by doing kind of where he canters himself and brings his energy up. And you can see he's not making him do tons of laps or anything like that, just kind of checking out, okay, if you have something really flapping around on your side, and again, using something like the stuffed toy there where it's very safe, it's not something that's going to hurt Cadbury, and it's not something he can get caught up in or anything like that. But the idea is that it's something flapping around on you. Are you going to be okay with that? And then, of course, Joe spends time just kind of hanging out with Cadbury, trying to relax, make sure that he has time to process, lick, chew, and think about what's going on. And then he's going to come around and start to take off those pieces as well. And before, when Cadbury was first getting started under saddle, even taking off the girth could sometimes be a thing that triggered him because he was kind of overwhelmed a little bit and trigger stacked and just kind of stressful. So he does a little bit of moving him around and undoing the various little pieces, taking things off. And Cadbury does really fantastic being able to back up and switch sides and move around, which is just kind of unsticking his feet a little bit and making sure he's able to stay in a calmer state. And we don't expect him to look like a super old, been there, done that horse for 20 years, falling asleep. We don't expect that kind of calm, but we expect, or what we want, is that emotional control where he might be unsure, like, what is this? But he knows that he doesn't have to completely get overwhelmed and go into one of those bucking, rearing, like super overwhelmed states. And so overall, Cadbury doing super fantastic with all of that. So Joe is like, okay, he feels pretty ready to start trying some of this other stuff. So he's doing the hopping up and down and jumping up on his back. So this is him working on this with the saddle, and this is new, being able to go up and stay up and starting to work on being a little bit taller, a little bit more up high. So he comes up and steps down, and so he's spending longer up top. So when I was working on this the night before, I was going up and kind of being a potato that got led around. And I was staying very much on his back without being up tall, meaning I wasn't standing up in the stirrup and being up high. I was just kind of going on my belly and hanging on. Also, when I was doing that, I was being relatively careful about not rubbing his opposite side too much. So for example, if I was on Cadbury's right side, I wasn't swinging my arm around on his left side when I was reaching around. So I'm pretty happy to see that this part is going really, really well, and Cadbury's looking so much more comfortable. So definitely what I was doing the night before, I think, helped with all of these pieces. And just the time that was put into Cadbury of putting the saddle on, giving him more opportunities to do that. It was something where he could just get a lot more confidence and comfortability with wearing the saddle, wearing the girth. The girth, I think, has been the hardest thing for him. Not so much the person up high, but definitely the belly. Of course, he had some reactions in there, but the girth being around his belly has been the hardest thing for him, and probably going to be something that we need to pay attention to when he goes home, is doing more massage work on his belly, more girth work, all of those pieces. But that went really, really well. So Joe comes around and wants to make sure that all of the pieces for when he goes to ride Cadbury are going to be set up for success. And this is a common horsemanship phrase we hear all the time, set up for success. And what does that mean? It means that before you get to like step 10, why don't you do steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? And that's what Joe is doing here, is he's done, the pool noodle thing to test something up high. He's done the stuffed toys at the side of him to make sure the flapping's okay. all of these little things. And now he's doing where he's not even putting his leg over Cadbury. He's just kind of got his weight on him, but he's just having him walk in little circles. So that way Joe can safely dismount quickly if he needed to. He's not expecting to put that leg all the way over. He's staying on one side of his body. And to me, this is super interesting because I don't do this part by myself. So it's a lot of talent to be able to do that by yourself. For example, when you saw the video of what I did the previous night, I was kind of doing a similar thing where I was over top of his body, just on one side of his body, and I had somebody leading me. Whereas Joe can do that on his own, where he jumps up and then he kind of steers the horse himself. So it just takes more coordination and balance for what you're doing. Of course, he gets him the positive reinforcement along the way, and he's gonna get up, and now he's got his helmet on because he realizes, oh, okay, we're actually really progressing here, probably gonna get to do a proper ride, definitely need to put that helmet on. So I love that he wears a helmet. For me, that's a big one because after my accident from 2023, where I fractured my skull and multiple brain hemorrhages, even while wearing a helmet, and still had that kind of injury. If I didn't have a helmet, 100%, I would probably not be here. So I would say 99.99999% I would not be here. So definitely a super important thing. And this is pretty interesting. He puts the rope on the opposite side of where he is and practice turning him away from himself. So that's, again, something different. That's not something that I do myself. I usually just have the rope on the same side of me. So that way, if I need to disengage the horse or jump off or something, I'm not pulling them into my body. So this is a totally different thing for me to see, which is, I always love learning different things. And it's fun to see how different people train horses. All in all, it goes really well and smoothly. And he's giving Cadbury some pauses. And then he just kind of puts his leg over like that. And Cadbury's just walking along like he's been doing this for many years before. It goes really well. And a huge part for that is just all of the steps that he did to get there. It wasn't, getting on and just hoping for the best. He really made sure that Cadbury knew all the pieces. And right now he's doing turns to the right because that's the side that his rope is on. So he's just doing the right turns. And if you think back to, I can't remember, it was the day 3 video where he was on his back without the saddle and he did turns to the left, and then it was doing a turn to the right that Cadbury was overwhelmed. And so this is huge that he's able to be on him doing those turns, that we've done so much more confidence building with him, that he's able to do this at ease, looking really relaxed and comfortable. His movement is really relaxed. He's able to stop easily. Joe jumps off quickly just in case that were to be triggering for him, and then he offers that positive reinforcement to Cadbury. So that was super fantastic. Also important to point out that Joe actually has a broken hand. We did not know it was a broken hand when he was doing this session. He's like, yeah, my hand hurts. Like that's why he's wearing a brace on the one hand, and we didn't know fully. We just knew that it hurt him, but he's like, yeah, I'll still do the session. Like Lindsay's got to leave today to head back to Canada, so let's still do it. And then afterwards we find out that it's actually a broken hand. So that's a little bit of the quick, more awkward jumping off as well. So then Joe had dismounted to give Cadbury a little break for a second, and then he gets back on to do the left side, doing the left turn. So the other little video clip you saw was doing the right turns. This is the left turns, and making sure essentially that Cadbury can feel him moving both right and left. And of course, Joe does things a little bit different from me too, because he's starting with just the one rope, which is a thing that sometimes, like a lot of other horsemanship people do that too, but I tend to get on with the 2 ropes. So super fun to see that the first rides went super successfully, different than how I do them, but I love and respect what Joe did. Let me know what you think.
Remember to subscribe and check out harmonyhorsemanship.com for even more learning.